If I operated out of fear over a motion to vacate, I would never be able to do my job. I could make a selfish decision and do something that's different, but I'm doing here what I believe to be the right thing. I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important.
There you have it. House Speaker Mike Johnson makes it abundantly clear that he believes the right thing is to send lethal aid to Ukraine. And in the eyes of the House Speaker, he's also willing to defy members of his own party in order to secure tens of billions of dollars in American taxpayer money for wars abroad. So this isn't just about Ukraine, although Ukraine tends to be the main sticking point between Republicans in the House. Now, here's what Mike Johnson plans to do in order to get war funding and military aid to Israel, to Ukraine, and also provide some funding for other foreign, agenda items that the Congress has in mind. He plans to do this through 4 separate bills, one each for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, along with one containing many Republican priorities, including a ban or forced sale of TikTok in the United States. Now, the bills, taken together, according to CNN, also add up to about $95 billion in aid, the same amount the Senate bill included, with an adjustment that $10 billion in Ukraine economic assistance is in the form of a payable loan. And if you're wondering how that came to be, Donald Trump actually had a lot to do with it. Now, the loan structure around aid resulted from Mike Johnson meeting with Donald Trump back in February. And Trump made it clear to him he feels that some of this aid should be in the form of a loan. Clearly, Mike Johnson obliged. And as a result of that, Trump promised to defend him and root for him should other Republicans in the House try to oust him from the speakership role. Now, those loans are through approximately $7.9 billion in economic assistance to Ukraine and another $1.6 billion in assistance for Europe, Eurasia, and Central Asia, requiring the president to strike an agreement with Kyiv to repay the funding. The administration could cancel the debt, though, if they choose to, according to a source familiar. So there is a loophole as it pertains to that loan. If the White House decides, just forgive it, they have that option to do so. Now, some Republican lawmakers are absolutely furious about this. And it, again, mostly has to do with the fact that there's a Ukraine funding involved in this effort. For instance, the bill would send $61 billion to Ukraine and regional partners, $23 billion of which will go to replenishing US stockpiles. It will also include $26 billion to Israel. I'm gonna pause to really emphasize that. Remember, the Biden administration had asked for $14 billion. This bill asks for $26 billion to Israel and $8 billion to the Indo-Pacific, according to a release from the House Appropriations Committee. Some Republican lawmakers understandably furious about this, considering the fact that they don't want to send more US taxpayer money to efforts abroad. Let's watch.
It's disappointing. I won't support it. It's disappointing. It's completely detached from what our base wants, what our voters want.
Well, go ahead, move it. I mean, I'm a voting no. I'm voting no. I've never voted to give any money to Ukraine, and I'm not going to do it today.
I'm absolutely disappointed.
I don't know how long people are going to tolerate this because he's doing nothing but serving the Democrats.
So you have Republican congressmen and Congress members, including Thomas Massie, and as you just heard, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are considering ousting Mike Johnson from his speakership role as a result of being willing to propose legislation that the House can vote on. But if that happens, there is some possibility that Democrats could save Mike Johnson. We'll get to that in just a moment. But one other note I wanted to make, apparently things got real heated on the House floor today with this conflict involving the two factions of the Republican Party. So NBC reporter Julie Sirkin wrote on X that a group of hardliners were trying to pressure Johnson to only put Israel aid on the floor and hold Ukraine aid until the Senate passes the border bill, HR 2, the hardliner border bill. Johnson said he couldn't do it, and Van Orden, a Republican congressman, called him tubby and vowed to bring on the MTV. Okay, all right, buddy.
pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. I have no idea what any of that means, but okay. All right, guys, this is such a telling story about American politics, let alone what's happening with these aid packages. So we've told you about 1 billion times that there's really only one party. And so yeah, there's the hard right, which is now gone rogue, and yeah, there's progressives and they pipe up from time to time. But the donors control everything. And so I was just in Washington, they find that idea absolutely scandalous, right? Now, you wanna know, say, well, but we told you guys this $14 billion was always gonna get through. There's no question about it, 0% chance that it wouldn't go through, because both the Republicans and the Democrats are completely bought. So now though, I have to confess, I am a little surprised that it went from 14 to 26. Okay, now why are these crooks, I mean politicians, doing this? You wanna know who Mike Johnson's top donor is? AIPAC. Do you wanna know who Joe Biden's top donor is? AIPAC. Do you wanna know who Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House, who's now backing this play, who his top donor is? AIPAC. I haven't seen that mentioned in a single article about this bill. Are you kidding me? You don't think that they care about their top donor? You don't think that Hakeem Jeffries cares about $330,000 that he's gotten from AIPAC? Joe Biden doesn't care about $11.2 million that he's gotten from AIPAC? No, AIPAC ordered them to pass this bill and add $12 billion to it, so they're gonna do it. So all of a sudden, now look, I know I break your heart all the time if you're a Democrat and you thought these guys were angels, right? But you tell me, all of a sudden, the entire Democratic Party rallies to Mike Johnson's defense? I was led to believe by the Democrats that he was a radical, evangelical Christian nut job, Trump supporter, election denier. He was just in Mar-a-Lago the other day and everybody's saying, oh, what a terrible guy, no way we're gonna help this guy. And all of a sudden, the magic word Israel is uttered and they say, oh, Mike, please, we'll help you in every way. So now basically every Democrat, they say almost every Democrat, some progressives will probably vote against it, but almost every Democrat pledges fealty to Mike Johnson on this vote. And they say it doesn't matter if he doesn't get Republicans because the Democrats are gonna back him. And at this point, there's a bigger rebellion in the Republican Party on Israel than there is in the Democratic Party.
That's true.
And Joe Biden, who, remember all the finger wagging, oh, we were supposed to give him credit because, oh my God, he's really concerned about Palestinian rights. So and in the middle of this slaughter, he's demanding that Israel get $26 billion. So useless.
I just want to be very clear. There is maybe one Republican who doesn't want to send any money to Israel. I think the sticking point actually isn't Israel at all for the Republican Party. It's Ukraine. They don't want to send money to Ukraine.
No, Anna, I get it, and that is a really important point. And so you're right that the Republicans are like almost as big as sellouts as the Democrats are. But honestly, guys, hey, let's say we give Thomas Massie and maybe a couple other Republicans credit for voting no, and we can debate whether the progressives are going to vote no more and should get more credit. And I'd love it. Yes, great, give progressives more credit, right? But either way, guys, you see 90% of Washington, all their talk about caring about Palestinians, it's not just a joke, it's a lie. And that's what really hurts people's feelings. But it's a lie. They're in the middle of the slaughter, they're in the middle of the starvation, and they haven't listened to a word we've said.
Yep.
Every time Biden says, please do this, Netanyahu slaps him across the face. And now his reward is going to be $26 billion. So that's who these politicians are. They serve the donors 100% and you guys 0%. That's the reality of politics.
Now, Jake Tapper asked Mike Johnson whether he's expecting or relying on Democrats in Congress to swoop right in and save him in his speakership role should a Republican call for a vote of no confidence. Let's see how that conversation went down.
Are you going to have to rely on Democrats to pass the rule in order to bring these bills to the floor and also the legislation itself?
Well, I hope not. I hope that our Republican colleagues will stand together, stick together on this. Look, everybody can grumble about details of the legislation. What I remind my friends and everybody you just showed are all good friends. Listen, we're not going to get 100% of what we want right now because we have the smallest majority in history, and we only have the majority in one chamber. The Republicans run the House. We have the small majority in the House. The Democrats are in charge of the Senate and the White House. So by definition, we won't get everything we want, but we got a great product here at the end, much better than the alternative that came in the Senate supplemental. And now everybody gets to vote their conscience, up or down.
So that was actually a pretty masterful way of not answering the question. He didn't answer the question. He didn't want to admit that he would need to rely on Democrats to save him in his speakership role. However, there is division among Democrats in regard to whether or not it would make sense to help Mike Johnson. Now you have the so-called institutionalists, as CNN likes to label them, who say that voting against a motion to vacate could actually prevent the House from devolving into chaos months before a presidential election. I just, hold on for a second. If the Republican conflict within the House of Representatives devolves into chaos, who would pay the price for that? Number one. And then why are Democrats in the House concerned about chaos? Are they worried that they wouldn't be able to pass legislation? Like, what do they have on their agenda? What are you guys trying to get done in the House of Representatives right now? Seriously, though.
Like literally nothing, literally nothing.
We've seen a lot of hearings. We've seen a lot of non-binding resolutions being voted on. We've seen all sorts of stuff like that. But have we seen actual legislation that your constituents have been asking for?
But let me be clear. So are they trying to pass anything that was in their Democratic agenda that they stated? That's zero, nothing. They're not even trying. Okay, so in the Senate, Bernie proposes some things, God bless. Today, the House Progressive Caucus proposed some things, great, we'll get to. But is the Democratic Party in the House proposing any bills and trying to pass them? The answer is absolutely not. The only bills that they are supporting are defense contractor bills, and in specific, Israel must get the money. There is no ands, ifs, or buts. So if it means that we give a giant gift to the Republicans and help them maintain order for no reason at all. And once they, by the way, have maintained that order and Speaker Johnson is then cemented, they can then pass other bills that are Republican bills. And in fact, they say they're going to pass a draconian border bill once they're united under Mike Johnson. And Hakeem Jeffries and Joe Biden goes, bravo, bravo, get united Republicans, as long as Israel gets the money. Keep it real, guys. What do you want me to do, lie to you? Look, I've just been in endless debates about Israel. And no one could ever answer the question of, do you really believe that AIPAC spending $100 million in this next election cycle as they have promised is not affecting these politicians? You would have to be like, no one, even the Dennis Pragers, no one can say with a straight face, no, I don't think that affects the politicians. So that's what's happening here. You're getting sold out. They're gonna take money out of your pocket. They're gonna take your taxpayer money and they're gonna give it to a very rich country that has universal health care, paid family leave, all the things we don't have, and with the specific purpose of killing more Palestinians. So the Democrats, like Joe Biden, are giant liars. And go ahead, go help Mike Johnson, go help the Republicans, because that's what Joe Biden does every single time. I've covered him now my entire life, and every time the Republicans need him, Joe Biden rides to the rescue.
Yeah, Joe Biden is backing Mike Johnson 100%. And then the progressives in the House disagree with the more corporate wing of the Democratic Party, the so-called institutionalists who are worried about things devolving into chaos. The progressives say, no, helping Mike Johnson could ultimately undermine the Republican Party with its base, which already may be less than enthusiastic about showing up at the polls in November. So, I mean, I don't think they're not enthusiastic about showing up to the polls in November, but I do agree that look, if we're just purely talking about Democrat versus Republican politics, the idea that it would be good for Democrats to help the Republicans look good by preventing them from devolving into chaos is insane to me. That doesn't make much sense. But that's what's going on currently. They haven't voted on the separate bills yet. So we'll see how that all plays out. But there is a civil war brewing within the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, and it is really fascinating to see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one last thing here because I personally take a lot of grief from people in Washington. They say, well, if you're not kissing the ass of the Democratic leadership, then you're trying to help Republicans, you're trying to help Trump. So everyone in Washington, what happened now? I don't wanna help the Republicans. I think they should devolve into chaos so they can't pass any of these harmful bills. And I actually believe in the Democratic agenda. And who's selling out the Democratic agenda? Oh, right, the Democratic leaders. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden are all uniting to help Mike Johnson, a radical right-winger, and the entire Republican Party in the House cement their power so they could pass bills that for Ukraine and Israel and whatever other Republicans bill they'd like. So who's helping Republicans now? Definitively, as always, Joe Biden and the establishment Democrats.